On the debate stage in 2020 that I would not ban fracking. As vice president, I did not ban fracking. As president, I will not ban fracking. It is, without any question, our imperative to do what we can to allow Israel to defend itself against those kinds of attacks. Coconut tree, 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 coconut tree. Kamala Harris, Taylor Swift. I am very proud to have the support of Taylor Swift. Coconut tree, coconut tree. Coconut tree, it is, without any question, our imperative to do what we can to allow Israel to defend itself against Kamala Harris, Taylor Swift. I am very proud to have the support of Taylor Swift. Coconut tree, 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 coconut tree. Kamala Harris, Taylor Swift. I am very proud to have the support of Taylor Swift. Coconut tree, 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 coconut tree. Kamala Harris, Taylor Swift. I am very proud to have the support of Taylor Swift.
Act 1, Scene 2, we push through the static, the voiceover, space, the final frontier, which it always has been. Let's recap, because we seem to forget when we get more specific. So, space as in right here and right now, this solar system, this rock, and the future, you reach it with every moment, invent it with every thought and action. So let's look at dystopia to deal with dystopia. But dystopia as in a story about just before the break of dawn, even though it's cold on the coldest of nights. Again, that's dystopia as in just last week, today, tomorrow, and all the decades prior. Remember, kids, science fiction is not prediction, but reflection. Once, there was a planet on which the inhabitants fooled themselves into believing that they had superseded the bounds of the very nature which brought them into being. By the time they began to collectively come to terms with the suffering they were causing and the chaos they had unleashed, they realized that they did not speak the same language. So the Lord scattered them all over the world.
What is this place?
Sanctuary district.
21st century history is not one of my strong points. Too depressing.
It's been a hobby of mine. They made some ugly mistakes, but they also paved the way for a lot of things we now take for granted.
I assume this is one of those mistakes.
A bad one. By the early 2020s, there was a place like this in every major city in the United States.
Why are these people in here? Are they criminals?
No, people with criminal records weren't allowed in the sanctuary districts.
Then what do they do to deserve this?
Just people without jobs or places to live.
So they get put in here?
Welcome to the 21st century, Doctor.
Oh, they're right there.
Did they get a fix on us?
I do not think so.
Good. You're too long away, just get shot down. If you take the...
From our world. When you go to the toilet, shit disappears. You flush it, of course, rationally. You know it's there in canalization and so on. But at a certain level of your most elementary experience, it disappears from your world. But the problem is that trash doesn't disappear.
Slavery, extrajudicial killing, torture, genocide, war crimes. But what was unique about Chiquita is that there were rumors that they had a very strong relationship with the AUC. In the documents that were disclosed in the Chiquita case, Carlos Castaña approached Chiquita in 1996.
Que uno de los principales temores o preocupaciones de los trabajadores de las plantaciones de banano es de que estos síntomas que para ellos son casi de todos los días, después vayan a convertirse en un problema neurológico permanente. Ellos saben que el dolor de cabeza, que el dolor de estómago, que aparece inmediatamente de que han estado expuestos a una gran fumigación, tiene que ver con que ingresó al organismo el químico y empieza a ejercer su efecto negativo sobre el sistema nervioso. En el Ecuador los pilotos nos han contado de que pierden el control, hay un oscurecimiento de su conciencia en momentos, y hay momentos en que ellos realmente se han sentido pero desesperados por no saber cómo controlar las naves.
streams. Now that you're wondering, how can it be real that the ones you called colorful, noble, and proud in your school propaganda, they starve in their splendor? You've asked for my comment, I simply will render. My country, 'tis of thy people you're dying. Now that the longhouses breed superstition, you force us to send our toddlers away to your schools where they're taught to despise their traditions. Forbid them their languages, then further say that American history really began when Columbus set sail out of Europe, and stress that the nation of legions that's conquered this land are the biggest and bravest and boldest and best. And yet where in your history books is the tale of the genocide basic to this country's birth, of the preachers who lied, how the Bill of Rights failed, how a nation of patriots returned to their earth? And where will it tell of the Liberty Bell as it rang with a thud over Kinslow mud, and brave Uncle Sam in Alaska this year? My country, 'tis of thy people you're dying. Hear how the bargain was made for the West with her shivering children in 0 degrees. Blankets for your land, so the treaties attest. Oh well, blankets for land is a bargain indeed. And the blankets were those Uncle Sam had collected from smallpox disease, dying soldiers that day. And the tribes were wiped out, and the history books censored. 100 years of your statesmen have felt it's better this way. Yet a few of the conquered somehow survived. Their blood runs the red, though genes have been paled. From the Grand Canyon's caverns to crazy sad hills, the wounded.
Act 2, Scene 1. All things now in jeopardy. It gets easier to see all the areas in which we failed. And among the varied list is a failure of culture. Neoliberalism has produced a void of common political discourse. Now getting on the same page is harder than ever because we are reading different books and they're all sold by Amazon. As Hollywood's golden age of influence wanes, so too has its grip on reality. How could this happen again? But really, how could it not? We have a proud American tradition of making a great man out of a molehill. From public intellectuals in the printing press to sex leaks on the internet, figureheads can be your best friends if only you'll suspend your disbelief. Do you see where this is going? You do not know these people. You cannot know these people. And disconnection from your community is the price of idolization. If you need post-election reconciliation, go talk to your neighbors. At the risk of sounding like a pundit, please allow me to say that the TV is lies, much like the movies was lies. So what's it take for a TV fella to become commander-in-chief these days?
The question before us is, which point of view and which party do we want to lead the United States?
Probably the most important debate in the modern era of presidential politics was the Kennedy-Nixon debate in 1960. And Jack Kennedy was the great, he was young and vigorous, and very importantly, allowed makeup to be applied to him. We had Richard Nixon, who was glowering, he was sweating, he wasn't feeling well, he looked peaked and pale, and he really wasn't literally ready for prime time. So the takeaway, always get that makeup.
Yes, thanks for that, Joy. Always get that makeup. Aaron said B-movie, but it's just a shitty TV rerun now. There's a new sheriff in town, and Loki, he kind of looks like the old one. The fascists got the makeup memo, and so the wolf dressed up and got in bed. Meanwhile, the so-called left gobbled at grandma's big teeth. Audiosm has been packaged into 15-minute segments and sent direct from the culture factory to your retinas. Audiovisual pills just large enough to swallow, and now flavored based on your taste profile.
I've noticed that quite a little change. I think your voice is changing. Because I've done, I hate to break it to you, but I've done an impression of you once or twice. Thank you for letting me do that.
So maybe life doesn't have to be all that serious, but maybe all this wasn't all that funny. And what do we make of this?
American, who was once as young as these children are now, and why I left my country. I left it because I knew I was going to be murdered there. And when I say that, I'm not, exaggerating. That's not a melodramatic statement. I mean that. I mean that I could not have hoped to live if I had stayed there. Now, I come from a country which is very proud of calling itself a democracy, and is very proud of what it calls progress. And I'm pointing out to you that 22 years later, boys and girls just like I was then, in spite of all that democracy and all that progress, had to leave the country, our country, for the same reason that I left it. In 1948, it was Truman in the White House, right? And he just dropped the bomb on Hiroshima. And in 1971, there's who in the White House?
Richard Miller.
What do they expect from us? The doctor brother.
Right on.
Yeah. I've had a hard life. No. But my dear, no, really. I know it sounds a terrible thing to say. I would not be a white American. All the tea in China, all the oil in Texas. I really wouldn't like to have to live with all those lies.
Yeah.
This is what is irreducible and awful. You the English, you the French, you the West, you the Christians. You can't help but feel that there is something that you can do for me. That you can save me. And you don't yet know that I have endured your salvation so long. I cannot afford it anymore. Not another moment of your salvation. And that I can save you. I know something about you. I know something about you. You don't know anything about me.
Amen.
And that is where it really is.
a real leader. They got back to the Senate, but we have the courts. By the 90s, the Supreme Court became blocked. Solid Republican appointees. And the federal bench, Republican judges like landmines everywhere. Everywhere they turn. Affirmative action takes the court. Go! Landmine. And we'll get our way on just about everything. Abortion, defense, Central America, family values, a wide investment climate. We have the White House locked till the year 2000 and beyond. A permanent fix on the Oval Office, it's possible. By 92, with the Senate Act, and in 10 years, the South is going to give us the House. It's really the end of liberalism, the end of New Deal socialism, the end of ipso facto secular humanism, whatever. The dawning of a genuine American political personality, model on Ronald Wilson Reagan.
For the past 3 months, I've been suffering from the revelations about Iran. One of them lined up to do publish what's happening. It's disappointed that we need to be and suddenly serve me. And of personal distasteful as our friend's secret bank accounts and devoted friends.
We did what we could to fuck things up, but the system is strong. And there were many and we were still few. But this fall was going to be the fall, all right. Bob and the rest of us had made a note to do absolutely nothing.
Doctor, I checked with Dr. Ruby this morning and he's had no patient suffer from AIDS or whatever it is.
Doesn't have gay plague, is that what you're saying?
Excessive taxation of individuals, the objects of incentive, and made over unprofitable. Just purely to see if we can find a defensive weapon. Defensive weapons. Seeking a defensive weapon also. Idea of weapons in space. We're talking about a weapon that won't kill people. It'll kill weapons. It will restore the freedom of all men and women to excel and to create. Trade zone.
A middle-class job into a sweatshop job. And when the workers went on strike because of the conditions and low wages, they were fired.
The opening bombardment of this American and the assumed British attack on cruise missiles.
Today I ordered our armed forces to strike at terrorist-related facilities in Afghanistan and Sudan. I tell you, there's terror. Osama bin Laden, terrorism, a hatred for democracy. Terrorist network. The most recent terrorist against terrorism facilities. Because only the United States could help stop one of the great human tragedies of this time. I did not have sexual relations with that woman.
I think Shaga would be a foreign policy kind of person, probably Lakidu, I don't think he takes a side, but he enjoys historical data. We don't know much about them, but got that kind of street King Yu would be a guy who all the babies are international bureaucracy, managing Waluigi, real feminist. DK is a tanky. Bowser's a fash, obviously. I think the dry bones, they would be like Alex Jones conspiracy theory. Bowser would be Dry Bowser, I think, is just kind of a nihilist. This is just a whole row of turtles, really unnecessary. Leslie does look like she would be a passionate, pro-life
bunkers. Those bunkers contain weapons.
Like fake way, Silicon Valley people.
I say that.
donc est le plus beau des anges. You trahi par nos sortes et privé de louanges. Oh Satan, en pitié de ma longue misère.
I'd like to detail Mr. President on an issue that's been on the front page of the New York Times today. The question comes from Evan in Brooklyn, New York. Let's watch.
Mr. President, since you took office, you've got a real great attack in your first year, and your most including the entire town. You're going to attack caused a lot of civilian casualties. I'm curious to know how you feel to help the nation, and what do you think,
Steve, I can't hear you right now. Simply put, these strikes have saved lives. Moreover, America's actions are legal. We were attacked on 9/11. Within a week, Congress overwhelmingly authorized the use of force. Under domestic law and international law, the United States is at war with Al-Qaeda, the Taliban, and their associated forces. We're with an organization that right now would kill as many Americans as they could if we did not stop them first. This is a just war, a war waged proportionally, in last resort, and in self-defense. The Jonas brothers are here. They're out there somewhere. Sasha and Maria are huge fans. But boys don't get any ideas. I have two words for you. Predator quotes.
One of the articles that really broke my brain about this is, again, this is a very academic article in 20th Century Music called Stalin and the Art of Boredom. It's by Marina Frolova-Walker, who specializes in Soviet propaganda of sort of the mid-20th century. And she argues that the point of a lot of propaganda is not actually to convince you of anything, but to bore you into submission by basically filling up your brain to the point where nothing else can take up that space. So like if you see a statue of Stalin in the courtyard, it doesn't actually inspire any feelings about Stalin, but what it does do is fill up that like statue position with something of Stalin so that you cannot imagine something else being there. So if you're someone who wants to see a different world, staying on this outrage wheel, obsessing over the people that you don't want in that position, actually has that effect on you. It prevents you from sort of imagining and planning what you would actually want the world to look like, because you're spending too much time obsessing over the way that it looks now.
Those billionaires, David Schroeder writes, included Elon Musk, who spent about $120 million to help Trump get elected, and saw his net worth soar by over $16 billion after Trump secured victory. Other billionaires campaigned for Kamala Harris, such as Mark Cuban, who was her top TV surrogate, and Illinois Governor J.B. Pritzker, who spoke at the Democratic National Convention in August. This is a clip.
We should trust him on the economy because he claims to be very rich. But take it from an actual billionaire. Trump is rich in only one
thing. Is that the 2024 election that was supposed to be about saving democracy was essentially an exercise in destroying what was left of democracy, turning our elections themselves into an open celebration of the oligarch. And I think if we simply walk away from this election and say, hey, the Democrats lost because they didn't have enough billionaires and the Republicans won because they more billionaire money went to Donald Trump, and we define our democracy as just a battle of billionaires, then the question is, in the battle to save democracy, what are we actually saving, and for whom?
Having Energy Secretary Chris Wright, not only does President-elect Trump at this point want recess appointments, he doesn't want them backgrounded by the FBI. When you don't have a hearing, you don't learn about people's financial investments, conflicts of interest. Trump himself has refused to sign ethics forms since October. What would that mean? A man who would stand to gain an enormous amount as head of energy company, Liberty Energy.
All you have to do is follow them up, right? All three of these candidates, you look at someone like Chris Wright, who we heard what he said, and we know where he would actually benefit. He's the CEO of a fracking company. We have Doug Burgum, who played an important role in brokering a deal between President-elect Trump and oil and gas billionaires in Florida a couple months ago, when President-elect Trump said that for $1 billion, he will provide favors to the oil and gas industry. You have to follow the money. And that is one of the biggest challenges we see in politics in the United States today, which has been exacerbated since Citizens United back in 2010. More money into politics, more corporate money into politics has just created the challenges we're seeing today.
Today is a great day not to know when Danny DeVito's birthday is. Let's gather a few threads then, shall we? There is a highway connecting absurd wealth, celebrity status, the usage of politics as an investment strategy, human rights violations, and the degradation of the environment. Through your attention, you grant authority and yield agency. A public personality is a social parasite. It thrives on feeding you as much of itself as possible until there is little left of whoever you used to be, which is quite the loss, because we need you. Unfortunately, the parasite is fucking delicious. But as the inflation of wealth and importance continues to balloon, and the man inside the TV pulls your neighbors in with him, it is ever more important that we remain suspicious of those invaders who would steal our attention, because they've been doing it since the tube became the heart. Bachelor after bachelor, idol after idol, president after president, and face after face.
Further accelerate oil and gas exploration in the United States. Perhaps most notably, will be lifting the...
That does it for our show. Our deepest condolences to Karen Ranucci on the passing of her father, and a happy 80th birthday to Danny DeVito.
If I ever had any doubt about what their fate should be, I would think of my mother. How she gave her life for Pedro. She was a hero. They were traitors. It was that simple. Or so I thought.
She did what she had to do to save her family.
You've saved all our lives.
Save you.
It doesn't make it right. What do you expect me to do? Kick and bite Dakar every time he comes near me? How is that going to help Taban or the children?
Maybe not. But it was her decision to make.
I need some checking. She died in a Cardassian hospital 7 years after she took out 7 years. Do you know how many vigilants died in the labor camps during that time? Died? While my mother sat sipping Canard with Ducat.
me something, Maurice. If you hate her that much, why did you save her life?
There's a part of me that wishes that I hadn't. But the fact is, no matter what she did, she was still my mother.
This country has been surprised by the way the world looks now. They don't know if they want to be Matt Dillon or Bob Dylan. They don't know if they want to be diplomats or continue the same policy of nuclear nightmare diplomacy. John Foster Dulles ain't nothing but the name of an airport now. The idea concerns the fact that this country wants nostalgia. They want to go back as far as they can, even if it's only as far as last week. Not to face now or tomorrow, but to face backwards. And yesterday was the day of our cinema heroes riding to the rescue at the last possible moment. The day of the man in the white hat or the man on the white horse. Or the man who always came to save America at the last moment. Someone always came to save America at the last moment. Especially in B movies. And when America found itself having a hard time facing the future, they looked for people like John Wayne. But since John Wayne was no longer available, they settled for Ronald Reagan. And it has placed us in a situation that we can only look at like a B movie. Come with us back to those inglorious days when heroes weren't zeros, before fair was square, when the cavalry came straight away and all American men like Hemingway to the days of the wondrous B movie. The producer, underwritten by all the millionaires necessary, will be Casper the defensive Weinberger. No more animated choice is available. The director will be Attila the Hague, running around frantically declaring himself in control and in charge. The ultimate realization of the inmates taking over at the asylum. The screenplay will be adapted from the book called Voodoo Economics by George Papa Bush. Music by the village people, the very military macho man. A theme song for saber rattling and selling wars door to door. Remember, we're looking for the closest thing we can find to John Wayne. Cliches around like kangaroos, courtesy of some spaced out Marlon Perkins, a Reagan contemporary. Cliches like itchy trigger finger and tall in your saddle and riding off or on into the sunset. Cliches like get off our planet by sundown. More so than cliches like he died with his boots on. Marine tough to manage, Bogart tough to manage, Cagney tough to manage, Hollywood tough to manage, cheap steak tough, and Lonzo substantial. The ultimate in synthetic selling, a Madison Avenue masterpiece, a miracle, a cotton candy politician, pesto macho. Put your orders in America, and quick as Kodak, your leaders duplicating the accent being on the news. Because all of a sudden we have fallen prey to selective amnesia, remembering what we want to remember and forgetting what we choose to forget. All of a sudden the man who called for a bloodbath on our college campuses is supposed to be Dudley goddamn Durant. You go give them liberals hell running. That was the mandate to the new Captain Fly on the new ship of fools. It was doubtlessly based on his comedian performance in the past as a liberal Democrat, as the head of the Studio Actors Guild. When other celluloid saviors were cringing in terror from McCarthy, Ron stood tall. It goes all the way back from Hollywood to Hillbilly, from liberal to libelous, from Bonzo to Birchite or Born Again. Civil rights, women's rights, gay rights, it's all wrong. Call in the cavalry to disrupt this perception of freedom gone wild. God damn it, first one wants freedom, then the whole damn world wants freedom. Nostalgia, that's what we want. The good old days, when we gave them hell. When the buck stopped somewhere and you could still buy something with it. To a time when movies was in black and white and so was everything else. Even if you go back to the campaign trail, before 6-gun Ron shot off his face and developed hoof and mouth. Before the free press went down, before full court press, they were reluctant to view the video because they knew our man of 1,000 faces. No match for Ron. Doug Henning does the makeup. Special effects from Grecian Formula 16 and Crazy Blue. Transportation furnished by David Rockefeller Remote Control Company. Their slogan is, why wait for 1984? You can panic now and avoid the rush. So much for the good news. As Wall Street goes, so goes the nation. And here's a look at the closing numbers. Racism is up, human rights are down. Peace is shaky, war items are hot. Lost claims all times. Jobs down, money is scarce. Common sense is at an all-time low with heavy trading. Movies were looking better than ever, and now no one is looking because we're starring in a big movie. And we would rather have John Wayne. We would rather have John Wayne. You don't need to be in love. You ain't never been.